And as the tensions mount in the South Chinese Sea, Taiwan firing warning shots at a Chinese drone that flew over an offshore island during military exercises on Tuesday. Taipei officials doubling down, vowing to counterattack if China enters its territory.
Gordon Chang, senior fellow at the Gatestone Institute and author of The Coming Collapse of China, joins us now. Gordon, is this more provocation or is this the real deal? Or should we all get ready for World War III here?
Well, we certainly should get ready for a heightened state of tension. And I believe that the U.S. forces worldwide should move to DEFCON 2. Two things happened in the last few hours. One of them is Taiwan shot down a Chinese drone over one of its islets, Lion Islet, which is 4 kilometers from the Chinese mainland. But more important, the Chinese refused to move their drone after the firing of warning shots. In other words, China is trying to provoke a crisis. And this crisis obviously could spiral out of control. And what we have right now is the situation which could very well end up in a general conflict in East Asia. You have a conflict in East Asia, a conflict in Ukraine, and that's really the beginnings of the world's next global war.
Where's Joe Biden? How should he be responding?
Joe Biden should be in front of a television camera right now talking to the American people about getting ready for war. The Chinese are not only involved in what is the biggest military buildup since the Second War, what they're also doing is they're mobilizing the Chinese people for conflict. And we see this in any number of different ways. So this is a total society effort on the part of Xi Jinping, the Chinese ruler. We don't know what's going on in the Chinese political system right now. The guess is that Xi has consolidated his power and he's now going after neighbors. If so, the United States needs to be very firm in this. We need to be clear, saying we will defend Taiwan to prevent the Chinese attacking. Anything can happen right now, Todd and Ashley.
So, Gordon, is the U.S. military prepared for something like this? Can they handle this?
They're not prepared for a number of reasons. First of all, the Navy has been broken for a decade. The Air Force is not in great shape either. And also, the political leadership of in the Pentagon is not, I think, mentally prepared to fight a general war. They're much more interested in things like, woke culture and the rest of it. But also, they believe that if a conflict with China comes, it'll come no earlier than 5 years from now. And that's why they're retiring ships and planes. They need to be ready for a conflict with China in the next few hours, not 5 years from now.
Well, the good news, Gordon, is that if the battle comes down to pronouns, it looks like we will win there in the U.S. military. That is sarcasm. If Joe Biden had demonstrated strength throughout his term, when you look at places like Afghanistan, would China be doing what it's doing right now?
I don't think so. When Afghanistan was falling, the Chinese propaganda was that when China invaded Taiwan, not if, Todd, but that when China invaded Taiwan, the U.S. would not rush to the island's defense. We, of course, saw not only the calamitous withdrawal from Afghanistan, but the failure of the West, the United States, the European Union, and Great Britain to deter a far weaker Russia in Ukraine. I think the Chinese have taken that on board, and they believe that the United States is not prepared to defend anyone at this particular time. Now, I'm not saying they're right, but that's what they're thinking, and that's extremely dangerous because deterrence has broken down. And the most dangerous periods in history are those when a country like the United States tries to reestablish deterrence. That's when things go horribly wrong.
Let's turn to this, Gordon. It was a long-awaited UN report, and it's citing patterns of abuse in China's treatment of the Uyghur minority. It was a 48-page report, and it was drawn from interviews with former detainees at 8 separate detention centers in the region. Were you shocked by this report?
I was shocked that it was so weak. Well, actually, we shouldn't be. It's the UN. But the point is that both Secretary Pompeo and Secretary Blinken both designated China as committing genocide. And that's clear from all the information we have. Why the UN couldn't dig that out itself and say those words is just wrong. And the question here is, what use is the UN when it can't tell us what the truth is?
So what use is this report? I mean, paper's nice. We all like nice reports. But what happens next? Will China face any real consequences in light of this report?
I actually don't think so, because Beijing puts its best diplomats on human rights, and we Americans do not understand the importance of values. And this is not just Joe Biden who doesn't understand it. It's also all of his predecessors as president. So we are all responsible for, I believe, undervaluing China, America's most important weapon, and what China is most feared about, and that is the attractiveness of our values and our form of government. And we need to start understanding that, because that is the dividing line in the world today. There are totalitarian states on one side, and there's the United States and friends on the other. And at this particular time, that's the way the world may divide into war, because it's certainly looking like that, Todd. Just day after day, we're getting closer and closer to global conflict.
Scary times. Gordon Chang, thanks for your take on all this morning. We appreciate you being up with us.
Thank you, Ashley and Todd.